Hi, we're going to talk a little bit about planning and planning in the context of manufacturing and controlling manufacturing systems. When we talk about planning, the context here is that how can we make sure that what happens before something needs to be manufactured, how can we make sure that the things that happen before makes what happens in the actual manufacturing as efficient as possible? And to do this, we require planning. That requires planning. And planning, in this sense, is when we make decisions about future activities and events. That's the definition of planning that we are using here. We are going to talk about 5 different levels of planning, starting with the top one, which we call strategic network planning, going all the way down to the lowest one called production activity control. And the levels here differentiate between how detailed they are, how long planning periods they focus on, how often you revisit the plan to redo the plan, and also how much detail you look into when planning. And the first one, called strategic network planning, this is the one with least amount of detail. Here you plan on a strategic, very high level, the number of supply chain links and nodes and so on. That's the things you plan when you make a strategic network plan. And typically you revisit this plan every year. So it's quite long-term planning. And the planning horizon that you plan for can stretch out to several years, actually. And the period length that you plan for is years, or perhaps, if you're very detailed, as low as quarters. So you never look beyond a stretch of 3 months, for instance, in a strategic network plan. Now, the questions that you try to answer when you make a strategic network plan, those are the big ones. How many warehouses do we need? How many manufacturing sites do we want? How will we source our production? Do we need new partnerships? Do we need new suppliers, for instance? What type of markets do we need to reach, and so on? So these are the big strategic decisions. Has very little to do with the day-to-day operations, actually. More to put the game board in place so that you can then start manufacturing things that meet the strategic goals of the company. Now, the second level, and now we're going down one level of detail. Here we plan on the product group level. If we make furniture, for instance, we can plan for the group tables or the group chairs or something like that. And the planning horizon we have here is 1 to 2 years ahead. We are not looking beyond 2 years, 24 months ahead often. And the length of the period that we plan for is a quarter or maybe down to single months. And we revisit this plan every quarter or even every month to see, okay, do we need to change anything? Do we need to change our prognosis and so on? The things we're looking at here are related to the business concept of the company. How much will we sell from a specific product group, for instance, and how much resources will we need in order to meet demand on a quite high level. We are not looking into details. We are looking at still high level, but we are looking into resource need in production. The third level, now we're going down closer to the actual production planning. This is what we call the master production scheduling. Here we plan for individual products within a specific product group, and the planning horizon here is 6 to 12 months ahead. So we are getting closer to the detailed planning, but it's still not that detailed yet. But we revisit this plan every month or maybe every week. And the period length that we plan for is down to single weeks at most, or perhaps months. And master production scheduling is also called MPS. That's the sort of the official abbreviation of this. And here we look into when we need to produce certain products in order to meet demands. How much do we need to produce during each of these months or weeks, these planning periods, in order to meet the demands on the higher level of planning that we put up there. And then we go down to what we call order planning. So now we are pretty detailed, actually. Here we look at the items that comprise different products, the items that we need in order to produce, for instance, a chair, then we need 4 legs and so on. And here we have the planning horizon 1 to 6 months, because here we need to involve subcontractors, we need to involve system suppliers, we need to involve other companies and place orders so that we will get the parts we need when we need them. So we are planning periods of weeks or even days here, and this plan is monitored quite closely, weekly or even daily, revisiting, because now we are getting close to putting actual resources to work, and that, as we all know, costs quite a lot of money. So we really need to know that we have the production plan in place. So the things we need to look to here is, when will certain items be needed in production? When do we need the legs? Well, we are going to assemble the chairs in week 24. Then we need the legs at latest in week 23. And this will then trigger orders of items or production of items so that we can assemble the chairs, in our example, the correct week so that we can meet the market demands. Now, the lowest level of control is the production activity control. Here we are planning single operations for single orders on single items. And the planning horizon is 1 to 4 weeks ahead. So we are not looking that much ahead, 1 month at the most. And we are revisiting this plan every day, because here we are down to individual operators, even individual machines or individual tasks that need to be done, need to be performed. So the period length can go down to days or hours, or even lower than that if it's a very detailed type of operation. So here we will look into when will a specific item be produced, and when will a specific item be needed to arrive from a sub-supplier, for instance. So we have an example here from the furniture industry. On the strategic level, the strategic network planning, you might plan that, okay, we will sell tables for the next 5 years at least. This is broken down to the sales and operations planning, and there you say we will sell 3,000 tables in the first quarter of next year. And the master production scheduling, when you break this down further, say, okay, to be able to meet these 3,000 tables, we need to produce 1,000 tables of type A, 1,500 of type B, and 500 of type C by the first quarter next year. Otherwise, we cannot meet these demands. We go down one level again, and to say, to be able to produce according to this plan, we need 4,000 table legs of type A, 6,000 table legs of type B, and 2,000 table legs of type C. Each table has 4 legs, of course. And the lowest level, the production activity control, now we are very close to actually producing the tables. We are saying type A will be produced in week 44 to 48, type B in 49 to 50, and type C in week 51 to 52, over Christmas and New Year's. Sorry, guys. So this is a typical example of how a production can be planned ahead using a number of different time perspectives, a number of different levels. As you can see, this table here sums it up. You have the 5 planning levels: strategic network planning, sales and operations planning, master production scheduling, order planning, and production activity control. And if you look at these 4 different parameters, from level of detail to planning horizon, period length, and replanning interval, you can see that you go from very high level, low detail, when you talk about strategic network planning, into extremely detailed production activity control and all the steps in between.